National Electrical Code, or NEC, does not mandate a wall switch for a ceiling fan fixture. A pull chain is acceptable, provided it meets the requirements outlined in Section 422.18 C of the NEC. Section 422.18 C stipulates that ceiling fans must have a means of speed control, accessible from a location readily accessible to the user. The exception to this rule states that a ceiling fan without a remote control must have a speed control mechanism accessible directly from the fan itself. This means a pull chain meets the code's requirements for speed control accessibility when the fan lacks a remote. Let's delve further into the specifics of the NEC and how it governs ceiling fan installations. The NEC is a comprehensive set of guidelines designed to ensure electrical safety in buildings. It's updated every 3 years, reflecting advancements in technology and best practices. While the NEC provides a framework, local jurisdictions often adopt and amend the code to suit their specific needs. Therefore, it is essential to consult local building codes in addition to the NEC. Regarding ceiling fans, the NEC addresses various aspects, including wiring, support, and control. The primary concern is always safety, preventing electrical shocks and fire hazards. Section 422, which governs appliances, covers ceiling fans extensively. Within Section 422, subsection 18 focuses specifically on ceiling fans and their installation requirements. As we've established, subsection 18 C directly addresses the need for speed control. The accessibility requirement is crucial. The user should be able to easily adjust the fan's speed without undue difficulty. In the absence of a remote control, the pull chain provides that immediate access. However, if a remote control is present, it satisfies the accessibility requirement as it provides an alternative readily accessible means of speed control. It is vital that the ceiling fan is correctly rated for the location. For example, if it is installed in a damp location, such as a bathroom, then it must be damp rated. Likewise, if it is installed in a wet location, such as outdoors or an area that is exposed to the elements, then it must be wet rated. The installation of the ceiling fan must also adhere to the manufacturer's specifications, including the method of attachment to the junction box. The junction box must be rated to hold the weight of the ceiling fan, and any mounting hardware used must also be listed for that purpose. Proper grounding is also essential for ceiling fan installation. The fan must be grounded to the electrical system to protect against electrical shock. The grounding conductor must be properly sized and connected to the grounding system. It is important to never assume that the existing wiring is adequate for a ceiling fan installation. It is important to check the wiring to ensure that it is the correct size and type for the intended use. If the wiring is inadequate, it must be upgraded. It is also important to check the breaker or fuse that supplies the circuit to ensure that it is the correct size for the load. If the breaker or fuse is too small, it may trip or blow, causing the fan to stop working. If the breaker or fuse is too large, it may not trip in the event of a fault, which could lead to a fire. Furthermore, the height of the ceiling fan is also a factor. The blades of the fan should be at least 7 feet above the floor to prevent accidental contact. If the ceiling is too low, a flush mount fan may be necessary. Always disconnect power at the circuit breaker before working on any electrical circuit, including ceiling fan wiring. Use a voltage tester to confirm that the power is off before touching any wires. When making wire connections, use appropriately sized wire connectors and ensure they are securely tightened. Loose connections can cause arcing, which can lead to a fire. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions when installing a ceiling fan. The instructions will provide specific guidance on wiring, mounting, and operation. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to install the ceiling fan. The electrician will be able to ensure that the installation is safe and code compliant. Beyond the NEC, other considerations can influence the decision to install a wall switch for a ceiling fan. Convenience is a significant factor. While a pull chain meets the basic code requirement, a wall switch offers greater ease of use, particularly for those with mobility issues or in rooms where frequent adjustments are desired. A wall switch also allows for the integration of the fan with other lighting controls in the room, creating a more cohesive and user-friendly lighting scheme. In addition, some homeowners prefer the aesthetic of a wall switch over a pull chain, as it provides a cleaner and more modern look. It is also important to note that some ceiling fans come with remote controls that can be used to control the fan speed and lighting. In these cases, a wall switch may not be necessary, as the remote control provides a convenient way to control the fan. However, it is still important to ensure that the fan is installed in accordance with the NEC and local codes. When wiring a ceiling fan with a wall switch, several options exist. A standard single-pole switch can control the fan's on/off function, while a dimmer switch can provide variable speed control. Some specialized fan controllers offer separate switches for the fan and the light, allowing for independent operation. When choosing a dimmer switch, ensure it is compatible with the type of motor you use in the ceiling fan. Some dimmer switches are not designed for use with motors and can damage the fan. Another crucial aspect to consider is the wiring configuration in a wall. Older homes may have different wiring configurations than newer homes. It is important to identify the correct wires before making any connections. If you are unsure about the wiring, it is best to consult with a qualified electrician. The electrician can safely identify the wires and make the necessary connections. Furthermore, consider the size of the wire used for the ceiling fan circuit. The wire should be sized appropriately for the load that it will be carrying. If the wire is too small, it can overheat and cause a fire. The NEC provides guidelines for wire sizing based on the amperage of the circuit. It is also important to use the correct type of wire for the installation. Non-metallic sheet cable or NM cable is commonly used for residential wiring. However, other types of cable may be required in certain situations, such as in wet or damp locations. Always consult the NEC and local codes to determine the appropriate type of wire for your installation. In addition to the wiring, the mounting of the ceiling fan is also critical for safety. The ceiling fan must be securely attached to the ceiling joist or suitable support structure. The mounting hardware should be rated to support the weight of the fan. It is also important to ensure that the fan is properly balanced to prevent wobbling. Wobbling can cause the fan to vibrate and eventually loosen from the ceiling. Some ceiling fans come with balancing kits that can be used to correct wobbling. The balancing kit typically includes weights that can be attached to the fan blades to adjust the balance. Before installing a ceiling fan, it is advisable to check the condition of the ceiling joist. If the joist is damaged or weakened, it may not be able to support the weight of the fan. In this case, it may be necessary to reinforce the joist or install a new one. When connecting the wires to the ceiling fan, it is important to use wire connectors that are rated for the size and type of wire being used. Wire connectors provide a secure and reliable connection that will prevent the wires from coming loose. It is also important to ensure that the wire connectors are properly tightened. Loose wire connectors can cause arcing, which can lead to a fire. After the ceiling fan is installed, it is important to test it to ensure that it is working properly. Turn on the power to the circuit and check to see if the fan is spinning correctly. Also, check to see if the light is working. If the fan is not working properly, it is important to troubleshoot the problem and correct it before using the fan. When troubleshooting a ceiling fan problem, it is important to first check the power to the circuit. Make sure that the breaker or fuse is not tripped or blown. If the power is on, then check the wiring connections to the fan. Make sure that the wires are securely connected and that there are no loose connections. If the wiring connections are good, then check the motor to see if it is working. If the motor is not working, then it may need to be replaced. Another potential issue with ceiling fans is noise. Ceiling fans can sometimes be noisy, especially when they are running at high speeds. Noise can be caused by a variety of factors, including unbalanced blades, loose hardware, or a worn-out motor. To reduce noise, try balancing the blades, tightening the hardware, or replacing the motor. In addition to the NEC and local codes, there may be other regulations that apply to ceiling fan installations. For example, some jurisdictions may require a permit to install a ceiling fan. It is important to check with your local building department to determine if a permit is required. Another consideration is energy efficiency. Ceiling fans can help to reduce energy consumption by circulating air and making the room feel cooler. This can allow you to turn down the thermostat and save money on your energy bill. When choosing a ceiling fan, look for models that are Energy Star certified. Energy Star certified ceiling fans are more energy efficient than standard models. They typically use less energy to operate and provide better airflow. Furthermore, consider the size of the ceiling fan when choosing a model for your room. The size of the fan should be proportional to the size of the room. A fan that is too small will not provide adequate airflow, while a fan that is too large will be inefficient. There are several online resources that can help you determine the appropriate size of ceiling fan for your room. Another factor to consider is the style of the ceiling fan. Ceiling fans come in a variety of styles to match any decor. Choose a style that complements the room and your personal taste. Some ceiling fans also come with lights. If you need to provide lighting for the room, consider choosing a ceiling fan with a light kit. Light kits can be installed on most ceiling fans. When choosing a light kit, consider the type of light bulb that it uses. Some light kits use incandescent bulbs, while others use fluorescent or LED bulbs. LED bulbs are the most energy efficient and have the longest lifespan. Furthermore, consider the brightness of the light kit. Choose a light kit that provides adequate lighting for the room. In addition to the above considerations, it is also important to maintain your ceiling fan. Regular maintenance can help to extend the life of your fan and keep it running smoothly. Maintenance tasks include cleaning the blades, tightening the hardware, and lubricating the motor. To clean the blades, use a soft cloth or duster. Avoid using harsh chemicals or abrasive cleaners, as these can damage the blades. To tighten the hardware, use a screwdriver or wrench. Make sure that all of the screws and bolts are securely tightened. To lubricate the motor, use a light oil or grease. Apply the lubricant to the motor bearings. In summary, the NEC does not require a wall switch for a ceiling fan if a pull chain is present for speed control, adhering to section 422.18. See, however, the choice of whether to install a wall switch often depends on personal preference, convenience, and aesthetic considerations. It's essential to follow all safety guidelines and local codes during installation, and if unsure, consult a qualified electrician. Remember to consider factors such as ceiling height, wiring adequacy, fan rating for the location, and proper mounting techniques. By carefully considering these aspects, you can ensure a safe and functional ceiling fan installation.